Alright, hello. What we're gonna do today is get to a rebirth in Mini Miners. This is a tycoon game similar to Miner's Haven, a very, very old game, one of the first of the genre. So the first thing we're gonna do is take a look here. This is gonna be kind of a tutorial slash playthrough thing. As we can see, here's the settings, hotkey to see. We go to settings, we can see progression, rebirthing. We can sacrifice all progress to create a reborn item. $10 quadrillion. Or quintillion, that's quintillion. If we want to use scientific notation here, we can just do this. We have e to the 3 here, or 1000. And we need to get e to the 19. Overcharging is something else that I might cover in a different video, or I might cover today. But for now, let's just see how much we can get. We can take a look. This game has an index, which is quite nice. Index V, or in the inventory, just right click and it will open the item. So this is a free item here. It moves that fast. So we can see here, this item adds $10, a total of 3 times, up to a maximum of $100. Well, what we can do is, we can buy more items here. Here's the mines, iron mine, this is this here. We can get more for about $2,500. Coal mine, copper mine. Let's get that. And that will have a base cost of about $25. See, well, it's a base cost of 250, but it outputs 25. So in about 10 ores, it'll generate us about another mine. As we can see, it just did that. Nice feature of this game is I can just pick up and replace items as I need, and it will just add it there for me. So we're gonna wait here. There's kind of 3 different types of items in this game. There's the items that add on a base amount. There's not really many that do this. This is just $10. I think actually I'm sitting about just about $1,000 right now. I can get this Hyper Refiner, which upgrades based on your speed. There's items later on in the game that will add even more on, but for our purposes, it's not really that necessary. You can just do this 3 times, and then in about 8,000 more dollars, we can get the Electrifier, which we'll do this. As electrified, has a % chance per preceding upgrade to not upgrade. Because it's a faster conveyor speed, I can insert it right about here, and it will upgrade this one a little bit faster than the others. Here's some extra stuff here we can use. Teleporters, receivers will receive items from the senders. And then there's not really much of worth in here besides the infuser. As we're going through here, I can kind of show you the things that this game has. So here's more furnaces, of course. Look, it's just about a 2 times. 2 times greater than what we're already using. If I move it, items are selling for about half their price. So let's take a look here. Let's see, what can we get next? Not much. We need to wait for about $150,000, I think. That's what it looks like. For my own sanity, I'm changing this back to what's not standard, not scientific notation, standard notation. So I need to reset this. $150,000. This will be $500,000. This will be $10,000. Ore injectors. This is the second type of upgrader, or the third now. It's a cap grader. It upgrades up to a certain cap, certain limit, which is $500. You can use it about 15 times. It's $15,000 per thing. Upgrades by 1.3 times, up to a total amount of 151 times multiplier. Now, as I'm talking, I can kind of get this coal mine here going, and this will simply it's gonna be too much for these upgraders here. It's gonna get to the max already. You can see these blink when an item has reached a limit. for the cap graders, or it was already used more than the necessary amount of times, like in this instance. We can see here, use limit 3, and this is the 4th time, so it's not going to work. You'll see a lot in this video, I just use 1 or 2 items. If you have questions about some items, just take a look at the index, and it will tell you everything you need to know. So we can go ahead and take a look at some of these items here. These ore injectors will go up to $500. I'll just move all of this and replace the space with ore injectors. As we can see here, the coal mine is already at a max value, at about here. But we're going to leave it up because of the other mines still need some time to catch up. And it's about this point I can probably get rid of these basic refiners. And this too. So let's go ahead and do that. Place this final copper mine. Now we can take a look at what we need next. We have the ore amplifier, which is just, it increases things, the size of your ore, by about this much. I don't quite know what this does. Now if you take a look here, you can see there's 3 upgraders on this item, but it can only be used 1 time. That tells us is that you can use the item once, but each upgrade beam has a potential usage. Yeah, 3 beams. If you put in a second one afterwards, it won't upgrade. It's a little confusing. Why not just 1 time? It has 3 upgraders. Okay. If we use a second one, each beam will light up in tandem with each other. As we can see, we're getting a lot of money here. I can upgrade our furnace here. Replace that. And then let's take a look and see. Our next mine is in $5 million. And I suppose now we just wait. Or add more mines. And what we can do is have some... I don't need that many. Have this here. And move these to be just about here. And this is going to be kind of the format we're going to use for the rest of the video, is having these cap graders into a teleporter, which goes into the main bus. We could just move this over here. Now, if you're noticing this, the daily reward stuff, this is opened up with K. For Y with rewards, you can enter codes, invite friends to get a special refiner. It will give you just about 1.5 times extra. Same with this group reward. For the purposes of this video, I'm not going to do that. This will remain completely exclusives free because codes can expire and things may be changed. So as we could see, we now have a little bit more money. I can get an orbital refiner. Now, one of the good things about these teleporters is that it centers items. And what that means is these are fine point precision upgraders. This beam is the only part that upgrades. If I were to put it onto the side, it would not upgrade as compared to these upgraders here. As I keep talking more and more about some of this stuff, I'm going to be going less and less into the explanations. Now we just hit the $5 million mark. This silver mine starts at $500. I don't even need the injectors anymore. Later on, around the Emerald Enhancer, we're going to just simply use the entire amount. Simply because $500 is not going to reach $2.5 million with a total upgrade of about 50 times. It's just not gonna work. We also have these portables. There's only a few portable upgraders in the game. Some of them are refined, coming from these boxes here. Now I can buy a box with my 25 gems that I spawned in with. This is a fresh account. Because my other account is in a different reset layer. There's a few different reset layers in this game. For the purposes of this video, of course, I'm just going to stay here. These portables are long enough to reach the center here, sort of acting like that fine point. The only difference is I can use, if I put it here, it might not work. If I put it here, it might not work. So I just kind of want to stick it on these sides here. Because it's centered, each ore hits both beams. Because it's wide enough to do so. And you just kind of want to get max amounts here. It will have a small upgrade. 10 times compared to Miner's Haven 20. But this has a higher multiplier of 1.1 compared to Miner's Haven 1.05. I think actually it's a 30 times use rate in Miner's Haven. So what we're just going to do is 5 here, and we can fill out the other 2 over here. Now what's interesting is I can have an item in my inventory, but if I go into the shop and select it, it will use up my remaining, you can take a look, my 1 remaining here, it will use it instead of buying more until I have no more left. And so from here, I can get rid of these. We won't be needing those anymore. We'll just wait. We'll just wait for some time. My next furnace is $250 million away. My next mine is $5 billion away, so we're going to have to stick with upgraders for some time. We're going to have directional enhancers, which will be a little confusing and a little difficult to implement for some time. Well, a little hard to work around is what I mean. Considering the big turn. Anyone who's played Miner's Haven before, these big turns are difficult, especially because it takes up a 6x6. This is a big area here. That's multiple upgraders of worth, and it's just about a 1.35 total. You have 2 of them, so 3.32 times multiplier. It's just, at this point in the game, you need all the money you can get. So we're going to get both of these here. And what I'm going to do is move this whole section here. Enter on this side. And then I can just move this over here. Just to give us some extra room. And we'll stick there like that for some time. And we're almost at enough money to get. And again, 2 upgraders here. 2 upgraders. And this is just confusing. You can use it 4 times or 2 times. Just assume 2 times. This right number is how many times you can use the item. The left number is how many times it can be upgraded by the total amount of used items. So 2 upgraders per item, 2 items, that's 4 uses total. Now we're at $55 million. I can get us an Emerald Enhancer. I can get us 3 actually. And what these will do is help speed things along much, much quicker. And we'll be using these until we get to about the Sky Site mine, when the base value is 2.5 million. And that's the cap of this upgrader here. As we keep increasing, now we're getting money a lot quicker. This is a 1.75 times upgrade 3 times already, which is, if you want to do the math yourself, you just take the amount of upgrade and put it to the power of how many upgrades you have. So this is 1.75, and we have 3 of them to the power of 3. That's about a 5 times multiplier total. I can add more here. I can actually max out how many upgraders I have. So this is 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the last one here. And we'll just stick like this. This will be our loadout. A weird thing that the developers have done in this game is you cannot, they're technically loopable. They are loopable. You can run every ore through one upgrade or multiple times. Obviously, that's the use limit. But the thing is that because it has a use limit, there's no real need for things like Miner's Haven loops, if you're familiar with how that stuff sort of works. Now we're well past what we need. So I can replace that with a plasma furnace, get us a 7.5 multiplier up from about a 3.5, which is a pretty significant increase at this stage in the game. Next mine is still $5 billion, $5,000 total. But we're gonna get instead the Rose Enhancer, a 1.5 times upgrade, but we can use it twice. That once, and we can just kind of preemptively set this up. There we go. Now, something interesting about the Rose Refiner and the Orbital Refiner is they have synergies. Now, these synergies increase the multiplier of these items by this set amount. And what that means is we have this raised Orbital Refiner of 3 times. We need a raised conveyor to reach it. Of course, because it is raised, it will be higher than the standard conveyor, as you can see. And if I upgrade ore with the Orbital Refiner and then put it into the raised Orbital Refiner, it will give an extra increase to the upgrade, which is nice. It's always nice to have an extra upgrade like that. Now somehow I got 2 of these items, which is weird. Yeah, I've reached plenty of money now to replace. Controls are always a little weird. Hard to rotate. I wish it would just, like, auto-place towards the direction of the conveyor. That would be a nice suggestion. I might suggest that to the developers. Quality of life thing. Our next furnace, I say mine, furnace is $50 billion. It's going to be... Now here's something interesting. We have variable upgrades here, with an increase of increased multiplier per upgrade. As you can see, it's still higher than the plasma furnace. That's 7.5. It is still higher by about 2.5, 3.5 times, which is still pretty good. Crystal mine, platinum mine is our next mine with protection. Now, an interesting thing about protection is that there's a flavor text. Has a chance to protect your ore the next time an item tries to destroy them. Now, this only works with items that have the destroy keyword. If it does not have the destroy keyword, it will not protect that item. Here's a couple of extra items here. It's the same item, but still. This one has Toxin, and Toxin is interesting. It starts out really slow, but I suggest, unless you have a specific build set for it, don't put it at the start of your build. You're going to end up ramping up in Toxin fairly quickly. You want to take a look at the math. Here is the formula. Toxin to the power of 1.025 plus 0.05 per second. And ore is destroyed. This is not affected by protection. Now we're at 50 billion. I can get myself a new furnace. And this will carry us up until about $1 trillion when we can get the nuclear furnace, which, by its name, has an increased multiplier for Toxin. The minimum multiplier is the same as the max of the flux furnace. The next mine is $150 billion, we're at 111. Let's go and see what else we can upgrade. The nitrogen liquidator adds frozen, or freeze, which is a little annoying to deal with, so I'll put it at the start of a build to make sure that nothing happens later on. What happens with this guy is, since it's frozen, it will destroy ore that is on fire, or becomes on fire when it is frozen. So if an ore is on fire and it goes and becomes frozen, it will be destroyed. And if an ore is frozen and becomes on fire, it will also be destroyed. Frostbite is a Reborn only keyword as of right now, so there's no way to get it with our current effects. We don't need to really deal with that. And then another thing is wet. Wet is another keyword, which I think is mint injector? No, it is not. It's another Reborn only keyword. So we don't really have to deal with that. Now we're at $450 billion. We can get ourselves the platinum mine. Now this is a pretty big guy. I can kind of set him here like this. Starts out at $25,000, and as we get closer, it'll approach $1.25 million. At this point, we're getting to a point now where mines are almost reaching the cap of these upgraders. Now the point of this is, the higher you get to the cap grader, and then you're better off in the future. So we're now reaching about $1 trillion. Let's get ourselves that furnace. And what we can do is we can move the rose refiners. Actually, we cannot set them there. Let us move this. Move these here. And I'll just do this nice and clean. Let's put this here for that one ore. What this will do is, as mine ores goes in, see it's at 5. At 5 here, it's now about 10. Yeah, about 8. So we're getting about $100 billion per ore there. And it looks about consistent. Next mine is $5 trillion. Next furnace is 200 trillion, just a regular standard 75 times furnace. Higher than the nuclear furnace, lesser than the noxious. Just a good standard furnace. We can take a look here. We have the factorized refiner, $500 billion. And this is why we got extra space here. We can add things in between, like the coal mine that we have from earlier. Now this one coal mine will be enough to power this factorized refiner. And it will only work, as you can see, when it's powered. After some time, all the fuel is absorbed and no upgrades are administered. Now if we add this back in, it will stop blinking, or will start getting upgraded again. If you were paying attention, ores got an increased price. We're sitting about $9 trillion. We can get ourselves the next mine, Painite. Now, because of the size of this mine, we can probably fit just about... Yeah, let's set those in now, for now. And get this preemptively set up. There we go. And I think we'll be good starting about here. So we can start moving. I moved that a little early. But as you can see, we just reached the cap of this upgrader. It will no longer upgrade. So to save time and space, let's just remove it. Let's just get rid of it. And in fact, we can go on to the ore charter in a few moments. Now this overhung enhancer, as you can probably guess from thumbnail, it's raised. So we're going to need to get a raised conveyor. Or a conveyor ramp. Now, remember, we're still using the noxious refiner here with the nuclear furnace for extra money. And what this is going to do is, as we're adding extra space, we're going to get extra... Why is it so slow? That is not normal, but alright. There we go, it's fixed. Troubleshooting in the middle of the game. We love it. There we go. Now we're making money a little bit faster than normal. We went up from $100 billion to $1 trillion relatively quickly. Now let's take a look at our next items here. $500 trillion for the plutonium mine and $200 trillion for the Crimson Tower. We can go ahead and get an ore charger. Now what this is it's the next cap grader. It's slower total than the Emerald Enhancer, but it's got a higher cap. And as you can see, the money is still increasing here. And if we wanted to, I can expand this out about one more upgrader, but we don't really need to do that right now. So now we just wait until we get roughly $200 trillion for the Crimson Tower. The index is really nice. It'll show you everything you need. All these items here are items you get either exclusively. So this is a charged reborn. This is a chance to get a charged reborn on rebirthing while you overcharge. I guess while we wait, I can explain that mechanic. Overcharging is when you satisfy the rebirth cost, 1 quintillion, and then the overcharge cost, 7 sextillion. Once you satisfy this, it will increase to another overcharge, up to a maximum of 3, and each overcharge will increase the price. I believe the next price is septillion, and then the one after that is octillion. Looks like we're having some issues keeping up with demand here, so let's add just another mine to keep up there. We can add a Crimson Tower for more consistent money generation, and now we just wait a little bit for the slimy refiner. I can put this right in front here, moving these items, and in fact, I'll put it in front of the nitrogen so that we get even less uptime of frozen. It's about this point we're going to start seeing more usage of things like the mine's changing. The mine will change, and because of that, we're going to free up more space here for more of the ore chargers to increase money. I mean, yeah, look at that. The next furnace is 5 quadrillion. Next upgrader is 2.5 quadrillion. There's not much we can do at this point. We need to wait. That's totally fine. So $500 trillion now, we can get the plutonium mine. In this mine, it's more vulnerable to toxin. So the next furnace should be, as we can see, we have more space open up. And I'll just fill this all in. This will be worse for the painite mine, but that doesn't matter because we're going to have a much more expensive ore in the plutonium, which is what we want. The higher the ore value when it goes through, the more money we get in the long run. As we can see, 50 billion compared to 500. And that's a 5 times value increase. So let's just replace these. After that, we can get up to 25 quadrillion for the Sky Sight mine. It has some issues currently with raised conveyors, which is a raised to a higher conveyor. But we won't be needing that. We'll go on the reverse. We'll go to the higher conveyor, then drop down to the middle conveyors, which will be fine. As we can see, we've now reached $1 quadrillion. We need to get to 2.5 for the Impulsion refinery, which is a random upgrade between 1 times and 3 times. I believe it's either 1 or 3. I'm not certain. I haven't done that much testing. But we can see 16. I forget the names. Plutonium is much more vulnerable to toxin than painite. As we can see here, we have 17 versus 10. It's much more vulnerable. Be careful when using items that are vulnerable. I believe the Impulsion refinery is a 4 wide long. There we go, and we could just kind of set that up as is, and now we get a little bit more money, but this time it's not all going to be the same, because now it's random. Replace this. And because of the toxin vulnerability, what we can do is when we reach $5 quadrillion, replace it with the noxious furnace here, or up to 250 times multiplier. And that'll be in about $1.5 quadrillion. So we'll just wait some more as well. Get this up preemptively. Now we're making a little bit more money. Much faster, as you can see. go back to our upgraders. We can get this raised orbital refiner here in a few moments. Now, because we went around the corner, not all these items are centered exactly, so some of them will be missed, but most of them will be upgraded. And that's okay. Now, we could either stay on this, we can either get this upgrader or go to the next mine, but the next mine might cause some issues. Although the next mine is immune to most status effects, which will cause issues with our current noxious furnace setup. As you can see, most of these ores are getting upgraded, some of them aren't. In a later update, they'll be adding upgrade beams, so we can see exactly what it is we're upgrading. 16 quadrillion. There's not much I can get for now, so I'll have to wait for this mine. Go. Wait for the mine, and we'll just place this all the way at the back here. And from here, the use of this is 15. Oh, and look at that, we can get rid of 2 of these. We can use that space later for other items. As we can see, these items do not have toxin, which can cause issues for us later if we wanted to use it. We need to get to 2.5 quintillion. The noxious furnace is still better than the Crimson Tower. $28 million per ore here. And we're reaching about max ore count. Now our next upgrade here is the ore flamer. This item is a 2x. We use it 2x, not is a 2x. Just move this here. Since it's immune to... Since Skysight ore is immune to fire, we won't really need to worry about that. What we do need to be concerned about is when we upgrade to different mines, like the hematite, and later the venolite, if we get that far. So we could just sit here for a few moments, $250 quadrillion. We can get the mint injector, which in this scenario would just extinguish the ore chargers or flamers. In other scenarios, I would put the ore flamer right before the hyper refiner, but it is a very minuscule upgrade increase, and they did buff the upgrade, so it should be fine for now. We can start getting ourselves these mini refiners and put them right here. Should be just fine. This guy will be fine for now, but we can get up to about $312 million, which is about a double, or maybe even triple, 2.5, almost 2.5 increase. Sitting about $500 quadrillion. Our next upgrade is going to be the Refinadora Rosa. Our next furnace is the Ultium processor, and our next mine is the hematite. Now we're going to skip the hematite and go straight on to the Ultium processor for that sweet 400 times multiplier. And it's not like we can use Refinadora Rosa for now, especially considering the difficulty in getting ore up that high. Already higher than our previous upgrades. And we'll need this ramp instead. A little bit longer and it goes up 1 more unit. Like the consistency. So we're almost there. Just a little bit more. Place that. And it fits right in. Now, this mine does have a 25% chance to destroy ore, which is what the earlier mines were talking about. I think it was the silver mine? No. Crystal? No. Platinum. 25% chance to survive, a 25% chance of destruction. So if the destruction chance hits, it has a 25% chance to not be applied, which is what we want. Now, what we're going to do is get another sender here. Replace this. And get a receiver going. And then we could take all of this and move it over. And we're doing this because of the Refinadora Rosa. It can cause some issues with space. And it recenters everything if we need. Let's get ourselves that high conveyor ramp. And we can replace that. Move it over by 6, because the Refinadora is a 3 wide. Get that placed. And from here, we can sort of coast until our rebirth. And so now we'll just sit here until we reach that point. And that took about 30 minutes or so. 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Which isn't all that bad, I would suppose. Relatively easy compared to the other games where you have to get much higher with much more complicated mechanics. Especially considering there isn't an in-game index. Highly recommend this game if you want to get into the realm of these sandbox tycoon games. See, we now have Rebirth and the progression tab in settings. Let's just go back here. That is C, the little green settings bar. Progression, not performance. Don't go in here. Go in here. And now, it gets rid of everything. We get a badge, Reborn award, and we get a singular Reborn item. And this item, of course, has a destruction chance and a higher multiplier than a lot of other things we've seen. Alright, that will be it for this video. Thank you for watching. Go support the developers, go join the group. You can get yourself a nice 3 long 1.5 times multiplier upgrader. It's a nice little star. Invite your friends, and I think your friend also gets an upgrader if you join, which is a nice 2 long 1.56 times multiplier upgrader. It's sort of a fine point. Not quite. It's similar to the portables we were talking about earlier. Thank you for stopping by. Go support the game. Go play the game a little bit. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I'll try and answer them as much as I can. Take care.